Mr. Hill, do you want to go first?
The re-roofing project over at Huntsville Elementary is continuing. They're not done, but they are still continuing to work on that. But the main thing I would like to talk to you all tonight would be about the Fairview Gymnasium project. As you may recall, we did have soil investigations done on two separate sites, or two separate locations on the site. They're slightly different, but they're both good. To summarize, there's not a lot of difference between the two. But in order to move forward with the project, we would like for the board to give us direction as to which location on the site the board would like to use. We will need to get a topographic survey done. We don't need the whole property. We would just need part of the site. So we would, instead of having to spend the money on doing the entire site, if you could give us some direction on which way the board's thinking, we can get the surveyor started without having to spend the money to do the whole property. And then we can start on the design process. It will take us at least 4 months from the time the survey is finished until we receive bids back. So just trying to keep the project moving forward, we would like to get direction from the board on how to proceed. From my standpoint, we're ready to move forward whenever you all are ready for more. So I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone might have, but the cost as to whether there's a cost difference from one location to the other, we think that the location in the bus loop would be slightly more, but that's kind of just based on an educated guess at this point without having got more into design. But I don't think that should be the prime reason to pick one over the other. The cost in the big scheme of things, that cost would be relatively small. And I think the location for usability or functionality would be much more important than the cost factor. But like I said, it's probably some, but not much considering the scope of work.
Now, where were the two locations? One was in the front, and then
the two locations that I'm aware that we have had the subsurface investigation done on. One would be in the front, in the area where the bus loop is. Some advantage there would be it would be in very close proximity to the school. One disadvantage there would be that it would be disruptive. The construction activity would be disruptive for that duration of construction. We think that's probably going to be in the 14, 15-ish month range. So there would be some added complexity in operating school because of material deliveries, the space that the contractor needs to store materials and then to work there. The other parcel would be to the right of the school. If you're standing at the front of the school, over to the right, there's a basketball courts and a walking track, kind of generally in that area would be the other location that was discussed. It's farther away. Kids would have to walk farther and would have to cross traffic in some way to get there, but it would be somewhat easier to manage the construction disruption to school activities there. But like I said, there's, from an architectural standpoint, we can make it either site work.
Mr. Cash, what did you think about it?
Well, I got a question on the last survey or last where they bored those holes where
Yes.
you said something like middle of page 10 or something that was something that I read that I didn't totally understand it, but I guess my question is, if once we get into that, do you think there might be some, it may not be the ground may not be as solid as, is that kind of what that meant, or?
What the concern that was expressed by the geotechnical folks was this was previously placed fill material. It was material that had been placed there during previous construction. And what they were saying was, it looks good to us, but without completely digging all that out, we don't know everything that's there. So they did not see anything that was a cause for concern, but they were just going on record that they weren't vouching for someone else's work.
Okay. So my one, I know you said cost isn't, that shouldn't be the main thing. At the same time, we had a meeting Thursday. We know cost is an issue, or could be an issue. And I would hate to pick that side and then start digging, and then whoever's building stuff says, there's issues and we have to start, there's some hidden costs in the, which it could be both places.
They could be both places. Agreed.
Kind of like we talked about when we met that one day before Christmas about the bus rent side is, it's like what Mr. Hill just said, we're looking at 14, 15, 16 months to build it and all that stuff. That's something to consider is just the issue, that's pretty much, it's going to be 2 school years that's going to affect as far as the parking and the logistics of the buses and, that is something to strongly consider and think about and come up with a good plan to follow through. I mean, there's pros and cons to both sides, and I'm torn. I really am. I think it's going to be easier and maybe a little bit cheaper to do it at the park around a walking track. But once it's built, then we can get the look right. Once it's in front of the school, I think, and here's the plan too, as far as I'm concerned, is, we're still gonna have PE and classes and stuff in the old gym. So it's not like kids are going every day going back and forth to the gym. That's just gonna be basketball games, special occasions, and that type of stuff. Now, it could be used more if it's closer, but the intent is to use the gym that we have now for classes. What's your thinking?
There's no way you can reroute your buses like to the back of the building or anything during construction.
We talked about that. What happens is it kind of is like a funnel right there where the gate is, right at the field house. So you really can't get it'd be hard to get two, right, one coming and one going. There's some things.
You could probably use the loop there now where pickup is and put your staff back at a different part.
Possible. I'm thinking like parent pickup versus where the bus is going to park, trying to get all that in, because it's, in the afternoon or even the mornings, it gets kind of crowded on that side. I just don't, it's what you guys want. I think there are going to be pros and cons to both places. And I think we're going to have a nice gym. And I think once it's built, it's going to be great. There's going to be some, for 14, 16 months, there's going to be some things we'll have to navigate and plan for and plan ahead for.
But do you have a place where you can move staff to park somewhere else if need be?
Well, we talked about making another parking lot above where we're parking now.
Well, that was included in this when we was talking. The parking lot, the existing lot there where the faculty and staff park now, take that up almost to the road. And then the strip of grass between the parking lot now over to where the flag is, where the bus ramp is, paving all that. So you're gaining all that once the project's
technically, because we had to do safety things with Brent, I've had to count parking spots and stuff, and technically, I don't think I even have, or at one time, I might have lost a few staff since then, but there's not enough parking spots. If you count parking spots, there's actually not enough parking spots for the faculty and staff. Now, we got gravel parking lots that they could possibly go in over there behind the football field, and then some over there, on this side of the fence, like in front of that park, that we could possibly use. But
I just don't want rerouting and maybe a little inconvenience for parking to determine the factor of having the gym and it being efficient where we want.
Right. Now, to me, it'd be better right there. The closer you get to school, the better.
yes, and it's like Mr. Hall said too, when we walked and stuff, I do have a worry, and we expressed to Mr. Hill, and this is part of the additional cost too, of some drainage. We need to make sure there's the drainage is, because right there in front, if you build that up, there's going to be some, that's the additional cost that you're talking about.
Yes, There would have to be some imported fill material brought over on the basketball court or playground side, but it's roughly the same cost earthwork both ways, because we'd have to do some more excavation and the bus loop as well. The main cost difference would be site utilities.
The only thing that worries me about the bus loop location is the field dirt that's been put in that you discussed that might be an issue.
Well, the others feel too.
The other would be fill that we're placing.
Well, that's true.
And so that the part of the geotechnical report that Mr. Cash was referring to was stating that the geotechnical firm believes they've done their due diligence. They think it's fine, but there could be something buried there that they're not aware of.
They would have done this when they actually built that school. So at that time, it would still require good compacting dirt,
Right,
supposedly.
right, supposedly.
Because the rest of the school's probably built on the same stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
All that was done at the same time.
Typically, there's a standard, there's a measure of compaction of earth, and typically you do a slightly higher level of compaction for building pad as compared to parking. But like I said, from what was done, it seemed to be acceptable, especially, yes. That is one advantage of going over the other locations. We're placing more fill, but we're in control of it and we know what's going on there. And several feet of new fill would bridge over some soft spots that might be underneath there.
Ms. Linda, what you're thinking on that?
I think that I would take Mr. Cash's recommendation. So we'll have somebody to blame.
He hasn't given a recommendation.
No,
I'm trying to put on you guys. I mean, if everything's gonna work out right and the money works out right, I'd say we move forward. My recommendation would be moving forward on the bus ramp site. But, as we get through it, I would like to, let's work together, come up with, make sure we're, as far as the buses and parking, while it's being built, come up with a solid plan there, so it's cut down on confusion.
And I think we can take over there, if they're building on the site, the bus ramp site, the fence there, if you do 2 separate rows or 3 rows, whatever we can get in there, park all the staff over there, but leaving, like these fairs, leave an escape way for people to come in, but park kind of everybody on that end. That leaves your parking lot now kind of open to the buses.
I would think that we could possibly, again, we gotta sit down and think about it, but I think if we can, where the staff parking is now, or the majority of the staff parking is now, I really think if we think about it, if we can get the parents, out there on the ramp in front of the school, in front of the parking, we can probably park the buses there. Now, it's where the parents, it's getting the parents in and stuff for parent pickup stuff, or, we can load buses and unload buses right there in front of the school on that sidewalk. But it'd be no different than the bus ramp side. It's the parent drop off and parent pickup in the mornings and parent pickup in the afternoons that will, because right now, they're, a lot of times they're already lined out on 63. So if you got buses parking there, that's.
Once I think we get a plan and get a routine and everybody catches on, it will go smoothly, just like over here at Huntsville when they done that. It was chaotic for a while, but once everybody got in the routine, it went good. So I'm with Mr. Cash. I'm for, I've been involved with, a few county buildings being built and cut and moved and this. I'm not for cutting, I'm for this is a building that's gonna be here when we're gone. So.
A building that should have been done correctly the first time.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm gonna say there to bus parking is my.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
have you got anything to add to that?
No, I'm in agreement with what you got. And we'll get with Mr. Cash. We'll get a plan when it comes that time. I think the big thing is we just need to move forward, start getting this project underway. And I think our plan has to be long-term, not just prepare it for 12 months, but I would say look at 18, because you never know about weather and those type of things might delay a project. And I think we need to have not only one plan, but 2 to 3 in place, because as the project moves forward, as construction areas will change, and so might your pattern, your flow pattern. So as we get closer, we will get those things in place.
Okay, thank you.
As far as process, what we would do, that's just the direction the board wants to go. We'd ask the surveyor to do the topographic survey for that area. When that's returned to us, we'll lay out we'll take that information. So now we've got some hard data to work with. We'll lay out drives, parking, building location, come back to the board, and then ask for board approval before we proceed any further. That way, if something comes up and we see something as we're going through that we're concerned about, that would give us all an opportunity to talk through any concerns that come up during that initial design process.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr. Hill, as far as this meeting, what do you ask? I mean, is there anything the board needs to do at this meeting?
I would like for the board to just give us direction as to which location
Okay.
to pursue further. Yes, sir.
Do you want to take a vote on that?
We can't vote on it tonight. Wouldn't need to place it on the agenda.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that, you know.
Okay.
We can all be kind of in accordance to what we're going and place it on the agenda and vote on it next Thursday.
Yes.
Okay,
I understand that wouldn't be binding tonight, but having a consensus opinion, I'll go ahead and talk with the surveyor and let them get started.
That sounds good.
Thank you all.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Alan.
Yes, sir, Mr. Cross.
Okay. Ms. Stanley, we'll let you go first.
Okay. We had most of the principals went to the Elgin Foundation's day and a half retreat last week. And I think that was very informative, and I appreciate the Elgin Foundation for sponsoring that. Couple of families to keep in mind tonight in your prayers and your thoughts. Last week, Miss Alma's mother-in-law died, and also Michelle Norris's father-in-law. So please keep both of those families in your prayers, and then, and I'm sure Tommy or somebody will also mention Officer Duncan. Want to keep that family in our prayers. January, as most of y'all know, has been quite chaotic. We've been between the weather, and all of us have sort of shared COVID now. I think just about everybody at my school's been through it, including me, except Miss Alma. So I don't know what her secret's been, but we're gonna have a talk and see what she's eating or drinking or something to see, you know, how she's getting spared all of this. But thank goodness that she has, because she's sure my right arm up there. So we've been doing the best we can at getting spots filled with subs and classes carrying on. Unfortunately, TCAP is going to be here before we know it, and so we're going to try to get back in the groove and get prepared for that. I don't have anything for the board unless you have questions for me.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cash.
I don't have anything for the agenda, kind of echo what Ms. Stanley said. We've had I would say most of the staff has dealt with COVID the last 2 or 3 weeks. I had one staff member test positive yesterday, so we're still dealing with it. A couple still sick, several kids have tested positive, but it seems like this round doesn't matter if you have your vaccine or your booster or whatever. This is getting everybody. So keep all of those in their thoughts and prayers. Basketball is still going on. Boys basketball is still going on for Fairview. I'm proud of our boys team, proud of the girls team too. They finished 4th in the district. Boys finished 2nd in the district, and they won their first round of the state sectional Saturday. They play tomorrow at Harriman High School at 4:30 against Livesey. So wish them the best of luck. Scholars bowl season starts. I think their first match is Monday. So I want to wish Fairview the best of luck there, and all the schools and kids the best of luck in that season. And like I said, we're just seem like we're getting in it's hard to get in, like, back in the groove of thing, because you miss because of snow, and then you've had some that's missed 3-4 days or a week with COVID, but we're doing as well as we can as far as getting all the classes covered. That's actually, knock on wood, that's actually went fairly well at Fairview for us. We've been able to get everything covered and still do a good job with that. So that's all I have, unless you have anything.
Okay, thank you. Okay, have we got, Ms. Hamilton with us yet?
I'm here.
Hello.
Good evening, everybody. Congratulations to our county teams. Way to go, guys. I don't have anything for the agenda. Just prayers for all the people sick and that have lost people. The hearts and prayers go out to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tanya?
Good afternoon. I don't have anything for the agenda. The month of February is looking really busy. We have dental screenings coming up next week, spring pictures, which is kind of hard with all this weather we've been having to think about spring, but it is around the corner. So those things are happening. But other than that, like Ms. Stanley said, we're just getting ready, preparing for TCAP, getting over some hurdles with staff being out with this COVID and just sickness in general. But I think we're hopefully getting on the upswing of the.
Thank you. Ms. Rector?
Hello, everybody. I do not have anything for the agenda, but first and foremost, do want to say from our Scott High family how deeply saddened we are at the loss of the SRO, April Duncan. She had been with us this year, was assigned to Scott High, and had started making her way into our Highlander family, and she was just loved by all of our faculty and staff and students, and we're just devastated by that loss. So certainly our thoughts and prayers are with her family, her children, her husband, and just please remember them in the coming days. I don't have anything for the agenda, but just by way of announcements, we do have a home ball game tonight against a region opponent, Carnes. We do have a home game also on Friday night. That is our planned senior night. So hopefully we can get back in school and get prepared for that. But it is our plan to go ahead and move forward with that. But that's all that I have for the board. Thank you.
Thank you. How about Miss Amy Jeffers with Robbins? I don't see her. Okay. How about Miss Goodman? No. It's okay. Mr. Hall?
Yes. You want to get the supervisors first, or do you want to?
I guess I will.
That'll work. That'll work.
Okay, Mr. Shannon.
I want to start off by offering our thanks and appreciation and acknowledgement for Mr. Nathan Cron and the Highland Steel Erectors for offering their services, equipment, and expertise in the upcoming light replacement project at Scott High's football field at no cost to the school system. Twin K Enterprises, Highland Steel, is going to provide the equipment and men to remove the existing light assemblies, install the new lighting assemblies, and leave the equipment for the next stage of the construction there at the high school. In all, this donation is going to exceed $8,000. So it is a very sizable contribution by that company and much, much, much appreciated. And their willingness to work with us on this project. I'll speak more about that in just a moment. We're right now from the CTE, we're asking the school board to consider our FY22 budget revision 1, Perkins 5 budget revision 1 as an agenda item. We're needing to move some funds around to different line items to allow us to spend them out. And it's always a very, very stressful thing to try to get the federal funds spent in a timely fashion. So this will be very beneficial to us. We've been working in CTE on spending those funds, working with the teachers that were already designated in the appropriate area with our last local application. We've been making headway also with the Spark 3.0 funds that we had mentioned the last time, asking the board to allow us to bid a couple things. And I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on where that almost $250,000 is going. Again, these are funds that are shared between TCAT, Huntsville, Oneida, and Scott High dual enrolled courses. Some of the things that we've already completed the purchases of, we've not received the equipment yet, but it is contracted and coming. We're buying a new John Deere tractor with backhoe attachment for the agricultural program at Scott High School. For our auto repair, we have bought a very expensive brake lathe machine to allow our auto repair to work there, equipment and tools for the auto repair. We are purchasing a plasma cutter, have purchased a plasma cutter for our STEM program, tools and equipment for the construction program, supplies and equipment for both of our health sciences programs. Equipment is being ordered. Actually, we'll be filling out the requisition tomorrow for the machining shop up at TCAT. We are working with TCAT instructors to get quotes so that we can move forward on the purchase of computers and equipment for both the IT and the office management programs there that are dual enrolled. We plan on buying welders, plasma table, CNC plasma table, and other equipment for the welding program, as well as equipment for collision repair and diesel mechanics. So I think that we've done a good job on getting to the point that I believe we will have these funds expended very quickly on the front end of this grant as opposed to the back end of it. We're also beginning work in earnest on the FY23 Perkins 5 local application. This is a very labor intensive process that it always has a deadline, and it's March the 1st. So it's coming fast and furious. So my entire month of February is going to be allotted off for that. From the maintenance side, our maintenance crew has been working very hard to keep up with the maintenance requests. We've been dealing with everything from down to HVAC units, heaters, refrigerator coolers, along with other scheduled projects that we've been working on. The guys have been working on installing the new scoreboard at Birchfield Elementary School. They've done some good work up there. We expect to have that one up and operational well before soccer season starts. We're also working on the fire marshal reports for the different locations. Those are coming back pretty good, and we're making progress. And then just the other assorted things. We've also been working on some of the bigger projects for the maintenance, mainly the one that I was going to mention since Mr. Hill's already covered the Fairview Elementary School project is the football light replacements. Right now, we have already got the equipment ordered for that, and we're going through Musco Lighting to purchase those lights. We've been able to make contact with subcontractors to help us, as I mentioned, get the lights down and replaced, and then contracting with an electrician to get them operational. And really appreciative of the Board of Education and Mr. Hall for allowing us to go forward with this. The product that I have seen in demonstrations on YouTube videos and things like that of what we're going to have for our high school athletes is amazing. And it'll be something that we'll all be very, very proud of. So look forward to that. And unless anyone's got any questions for me, that's all I've got.
Sounds impressive, and you're making me tired. Mr. Bond.
I get Keith on my time. I had like a 10-page report. Not really anything earth-shattering going on. We did finally start getting active panels installed. So we've got about 7 or 8 of those almost finished. They're in process, getting our system down of getting them delivered and getting them built and everything. So hopefully that'll move much more quickly than it has. Just real blank. We're getting a fiber installed down at the museum complex. started that today. Getting each of the main buildings wired up properly so that really it's been kind of, we've had connectivity down there, but it's not really been up to spec. And now that everybody's got laptops and kids are going down there for classes and everything, we just felt it was time to try and make it as, connectivity wise as good as the rest of the campus. I have one thing for the agenda, which is our yearly permission to apply for E-rate and extend renew contracts and such like that. I don't expect anything major changing there. If there's anything big that comes about, that will have to, I'll have to bring that to you at the next meeting anyway. So it's just a permission to start the process with the current vendors that we have. And if we do decide to do something more, we're considering a wireless upgrade project for next year, I will bring that back to you guys for approval. But other than that, I can't really think of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Ms. Debbie.
In the morning, we have our detention center monitoring at 8 o'clock, so we're thinking very positively that we'll not have any compliance issues there. Right now, working on our federal IDEA self-monitoring along with Mr. Shannon and Miss Amanda. That is due February 15th, so we're getting close to that deadline. Then we have the LEA district plan, which will be due March the 1st, so we started working on that. And just right now, continuing with our meetings as far as our eligibility meetings, reevaluation meetings, IEP meetings. We're bringing in a lot of 3-year-olds. TEIS has been very busy contracting the school district, bringing these little ones in, and also Head Start. We've had about 20 Head Start referrals for children to get speech and language or OT services. There is one thing that I may need to put on the agenda. Last year, I had written a systemic grant for around $22,000 for a comprehension reading program for my special ed teachers to use with the students, but there was one component in there that was to provide training with an assessment instrument in that grant. I wrote it last year. This year, they're telling me that training is not available for the teachers. So I've got one more call to make in the morning, and if I can't get that online training provided for the teachers, then I'd like to move that money over to the category of instructional supplies and materials for my students. So I'm not sure yet, but maybe we can add that to the agenda. If I have to move it, it's only $700 that would need to be moved over. But that's all I have unless y'all have any questions.
Okay, well, thank you. Ms. Paulette, the food service.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have one thing for the agenda. I need to put on there to get approval to renew our chicken processing bid, which is with Gold Creek for the 22-23 school year. But we're going to see an increase of about 9%, which, I feel like that is very good considering, the increases that we're seeing. But I would like that put on the agenda. I'd like to have a shout out to Robbins and Birchville. They're receiving 100% on their health inspections, and this has definitely been trying times when they're short of employees and everything else. So those ladies do a great job. Also, I just want to kind of give a recap on my industry conference that I attended. Kind of, is a little disappointing in a lot of things, but I got a lot of knowledge from there on going forward for our coming years. Things are not going to change back to the old normal, of course, but they told us plainly the past is the past. We need to start preparing from today and to move forward. Things will not start changing to a new normal for about 1.5 years. And there will be some short-term changes along the way, but it definitely is not all going to happen with, and we'll see more about it in that 1.5 years. The projected new normal for us, they project, will be in the school year 24-25. and that the chain supply will not improve until the pandemic is under control and a while after that. The industry says that their biggest issue is transportation. And in January, USDA did start paying a higher rate for us to help try to offset the price increases. Unfortunately, it's coming a little late in the process. The representative told us that USDA is planning to return to their normal guidelines starting within the next year. The bidding season, which of course is starting with us now, is going to be very difficult because it will be hard for distributing partners to maintain price all year. And we're spent for meals. And most things have increased anywhere from 8 to 50% already. And our companies are increasing now above the index percentage, which our bids, the language is written into our bids, they have an index that they use that was in our language, and they've already gone above that, but we unfortunately are not having any choice at this time. USDA is moving forward with Target 3, which is the sodium guidelines, which is going to be very difficult. Industry does not think that that's something that they're going to be able to take on, and I can't imagine what we're going to eat with the third level of sodium. But some of the companies have already dropped K-12 schools on their food lines and are just going commercial, which makes it a little more difficult for us. And some of the most important things, I guess, that really hit home to me was, first of all, the one that says the past is the past. We'll never return to how things used to be, and that we're going to have to be very adaptable in the future. And students, what we give them will probably be limited choices. They are mainstreaming their lines on what they produce. So that's going to be a big change for us. And also the fact that 24-25 is the projected new normal. That is for correction of supply chain. And that one really got me. That's a long ways off in my mind. I'm thinking that's a long ways. And also we can expect to see a 10 to 12% increase in food and supplies going into the next school year. As far as staff shortages, the national speaker says you can't hire what's not there. And I never really thought about it like that, but he said there's 5 million had exited the workforce at will in the past few years, and there's no one to replace them. The birth rates have not increased over the years and so forth, so these job openings are there. And he says the labor issues is with us forever, but we will see it ease up some. The future labor crisis, it says we can't employ what you don't have, which I never really thought of it that way. But if we don't, we don't have those people there to fill those jobs, I guess we can't. Also, I've already started making changes for the next year for the this information that I have received at SNIC. As we're moving forward, I'm already planning into next year. And USDA is giving the state of Tennessee, some of you may have already heard, $20+ million to distribute among school systems in the state. We will all start off with $5,000, and then they have this formula where they're going to add up by the number of students you have to how much you get. And I figure it estimates to maybe be about $20 per student. But this money is just to help to set off for some of the extra cost. And it doesn't mean that these kids will get better or healthier options. We never know, what we're going to get until the delivery day comes. And the money is very restricted and doesn't help in many of the areas of need. We can't buy paper products with it. We can't use it for labor. You can't even use it to buy pizza. But we could use it to get the flour to make the crust and the shredded cheese and everything to make it, but you can't buy it for things that are already pre-prepared. So this is really going to be a difficult thing also to track. We have a lot of documentation that has to go along with that. We don't know yet what the state's going to require, if we're going to have to spend it they're supposed to award it from February or March, 1st of March. We don't know if we have from March to June to spend the money when documented and prove that we've used it, or if they're going to let us budget it during that time and we have X number of months to spend it. That's not been decided as of yet. Also, I have asked Mr. Hall for approval to attend the 2022 Legislative Action Conference, which is coming up in March, which will be in DC, of course, since we're a federal program. Now, I've attended this conference for the last 4 years that it's been held, and I feel that, we've made a difference. It's where we go and we try to maintain CEP, where we feed our kids at no cost, and try to keep the guidelines down, like for the sodium levels to level 2, and keep the whole grains down. And this is where all of our policies are made for school nutrition. And we're able to meet with our legislators to help increase their understanding and knowledge of the scope and the complexity of school nutrition. So hopefully they can make a better, informative policy decisions. And I find that LAC also is one of the most unique opportunities for us, because you have all the states across the nation coming in and meeting with all their legislators on the same day on the Hill in the Capitol. So, and it gives us a chance again to engage, with policy makers and, to share our point of view. And right now, of all the times that there is, this is probably one of the most crucial times and changes that's probably ever going to take place. But that's all I have, unless you all have something for me.
Thank you. Miss Linda Keaton. Linda with us?
Yes, I'm trying to unmute here. Hey, everybody. I wanted to make sure I tuned in today. I've been mostly working from home, and but trying to take care of all the webinars that I've had, all the deadlines that I've had, and solve problems that have come up. But I don't have anything for the agenda, but just a couple of things that is pertinent right now coming up is, of course, as some of the principals mentioned, testing. Even though I think it starts around April the 18th, we are having to do a lot of testing issues right now, accommodation numbers. Testing training comes up here in just a couple of weeks, where we will have to, and then try to remember through April all the different guidelines and the procedures and things like that. So that will be coming up. So, and also tomorrow I'll be going to technology and asking pre-K teachers and a couple of our instructional coaches to meet. It's the meeting for the pre-K grant, which is close to $1 million for our school system for our 9 pre-Ks. So definitely we have to be able to get that grant. So I will be going out there and doing the webinar and asking consultant teachers, I think 3 of them, along with pre-K, to sit in with me and to be able to help with that this year. Still having trouble doing the typing and the things like that, but I feel confident that all together we'll be able to do that. One thing that we do have to take care of in the next little bit is the calendar committee. So making sure that we keep up with everything that we're supposed to be doing at this point in time. And as some of them said, February is so very busy right now. Lots of training, PD training and things like that. But I guess that's everything I have to let you all know right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shoemaker.
Yes, ma'am. The only thing that I have for the agenda, February 27th through March the 2nd, we are having our Coordinated School Health Institute meeting in Franklin, Tennessee at the Embassy Suites. So that's what I have for the agenda. And unless you all have any questions for me, that's all that I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Amanda, have you got something for us?
Yes, I do. For the agenda, I have the ESSER agenda. We have to do this every 6 months. So I just wanted to go over that with you guys. You each have a green folder. So if I could just take a minute just to go over this. I did have a meeting Thursday, and it was online, and some of y'all were able to attend, and some of y'all had other planned things. So I'm just going to go over everything again. The first top copy you have is how much we've spent in ESSER, and that is all the districts in the state. If you want to flip to Scott County, we have spent 85% of our funds. And technically, as soon as finance draws down our money, about 99% of that, all but $4 has been spent of ESSER 1. And it had to be spent out this school year. So ESSER 1 is basically complete. ESSER 2, the next sheet that you have there, and we just started working on it. We have only spent 35% of those funds so far, but we have everything budgeted and everything planned. Once again, a lot of that is finance just has to draw it down a little at a time. And then ESSER 3, we've only spent or drawn down 3% of that money. But once again, all of that is budgeted. So we have plans for all of it as far as that goes. The next sheet you have is just an outline of the PowerPoint that I went over, and I think I sent everybody a copy of it, but I just wanted to go over that for the public information as well. ESSER 1 allocation was $986,000, and like I said a few minutes ago, we've spent 85%. As far as what we spent it on in academics, we purchased CLA materials for grades K2, and then Landmark was able to get a portion of those funds. So you can see there they spent $6,175 on their ACES curriculum. In student readiness, we spent $154,259.52. Within student readiness, we purchased food service supplies, and those supplies were mainly to distribute meals. Additional cleaning supplies, Landmark purchased cleaning supplies. We had an additional nurse, and that was for the 1920 school year. Each school had opportunity to purchase signs that were needed for social distancing, masks, etc. And then the schools had a choice to purchase the touchless faucets and the hand dryers for the schools. Also within ESSER 1, we spent $164,193.09 on educators. Let's see, computer technician was paid, so that was the online learning coordinator for the 1920 school year. We paid substitutes to cover classrooms because teachers were out due to COVID. The computer technician we were able to hire to help Mr. Greg and his crew get laptops out, and lead teacher stipends for the virtual academy come out of the educators' funds as well. To finish up ESSER 1 spending and foundations, the rest of it, $517,105.76, was technology, and that was webcams, student laptops, and software. So like I say, all of ESSER 1 has been spent, except $4 and some change. On to ESSER 2, allocation was $3,556,493.21, and we have through June 20th, 23 to spend this, so just next summer. So far, this is things that we've either budgeted or spent things on. So in the educator category, we've spent $392,978.09. Everybody in the school system received a stipend because of their extra duties that were related to COVID. We have an online coordinator for this school year, and you can see he helps with various things, technology. Two is foundations. So the whole budget for foundation is $3,025,624.91. And within that, you can see technology is $1,257,405.46. And like Mr. Greg said earlier, active panels come out of that, as well as software. hotspots for students that needed those at home. And then we got some workstation cycles, laptop cycles also that will be coming out of that possibly. Going on next, for the academic space within foundations was $1,714,352.70. Within that, we have to pay architect fees, of course. You can see there the roof projects at Birchfield, Huntsville Middle, and Birchfield was $473,580. The Fairview roof's completed, and as Mr. Hill said, Huntsville is in progress. Birchfield roof is completed. The next thing we have in academic space was the replacement of little theater seats, and that bid's been awarded, and we hope to have those done by this summer. The SHS boilers, mechanical and HVAC was $502,300. That's still in progress. And the next thing that's been awarded and we're waiting for work to begin on is the Huntsville Elementary, Huntsville Middle, and Robbins Elementary School HVAC, and that was $131,995. We also purchased air purifiers for every classroom, cafeteria, offices, and wherever the principals thought there needed to be one. And then the next two things we have budgeted for but have not done anything is the awnings and then the gym conversion at Birchfield. With Mr. Hill talking earlier about the Fairview gym, if it's okay with you guys and it's something that will need to be discussed, moving the funds from awnings to gym conversion and holding off on those projects until we know the Fairview gym price, because right now we just have $3.2 million budgeted for Fairview gym. So if we can hold off on those projects, that will save us money and go towards that and put us more towards the $4 million mark for Fairview gym. Finishing up ESSER 2, we bought floor scrubbers for every school, and then desk shields were purchased for the schools who wanted them. The last ESSER 3. Now we've only spent about 3% of that, and that one's just because it's new, and we have till 2024 to spend that out. So that's another important reason we want to get the Fairview gym moving, because if we don't spend those funds, then we'll lose them, and we certainly don't want to do that. In academics, we had $1,290,765.48 budgeted or on the process of spending out. Tennessee All-Core Tutoring, I think we have 3 of the 4 positions hired. That they're $719,950. Now that is for 3 years. CCLA, I think that was about $40,000 purchased there. We have plans on purchasing ELA and math intervention materials. Ms. Rachel Lay is working on that for us and researching that. Math coach for 3 years. She began in August, and that'll continue through 2024. And Ms. Debbie is working on her supplemental intervention materials for reading, and she plans on purchasing that, so that's ready to go for the next school year. Under educators, we have budgeted $45,854.06. We have funds budgeted for substitutes to relieve duties because of COVID. And also we have special education PD, the SPIRE implementation and sound sensible training. And Ms. Debbie will be doing that this summer. This summer, she's going to be doing that. Under student readiness, we got $1,014,659. There was 2 additional teachers hired at the high school to work closely with the ELA and math teachers for the next 3 years. 4 additional special ed assistants for 3 years, 2 mental health positions, the 2 counselors, which they've been hired, and then the nurse at Huntsville Elementary, Huntsville Middle for 3 years, and that year 1's almost done on that one as well. In foundation, we have $5,176,100. Within that, we've got technology at $1,400,100. Mr. Gregg will be purchasing probably soon with laptop cycles and other things like that. The academic space, the majority of that's the gym, $3,776,000. We got architect fees there. The gym's at 3.2, and then we have $391,000 budgeted for HVACs, and that's the other item that, if it's okay with you guys, that we need to pause on until we see what the gym comes back at, and with the ESSER 2 projects, those 2 projects in ESSER 2. And then the HVAC projects here would put us at $4 million. And then other there, we've got hand sanitizer stations and then water balling and indirect cost. The next thing you have is the 2 plans that will be on our website. And I've had to submit them to the state. And it just goes over, the first one is the return to in-person instruction. Once again, that's just update every 6 months because we have federal funds. And the next one is our spending plan. And it's 9 pages there, but both of those items, those last 2 items are on the agenda, and we'll have to do that once every 6 months. And that's all I have, unless y'all have any questions.
Thank you. You made me tired. If I forgot anybody, did you have something?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Hall and I met with Sam Elford from Turbine Industries. This is just some information. I think he was wanting to speak with you guys a little bit more in depth next week at the museum meeting, if I'm not mistaken. This is just some information on additional bleachers being placed at Scott High. You know, we've been sitting at about 850 seats for the last 15, 16 years. And I went to Mr. Hall and talked to Miss Amanda about this. Back in December, we had our district meeting with the coaches, the basketball coaches. You know, we're always just kind of there because we can't host a district. And I think that's a bit of a shame for us and our kids and our student athletes. You know, Coach Wright, Coach Jeffers, both put a lot of work in, all student athletes. And so talked to Mr. Hall about this. We met with him, Sam, over a Christmas break. He finally got me a quote and then also there's some schematics there in your packet. But again, Mr. Hall, I want to talk to you guys a little bit more in depth about this, but I just want to give this information to you so you can see what it would look like and also what the cost would be. But if you got any questions, I'd be more than happy to help you out and answer those best I can, or we can wait until Mr. Hall's in town next week. Either one's fine with me.
Okay, thank you. Like that, everybody? Mr. Hall, you will be next.
Well, thank you, guys. First of all, let me apologize for not being there tonight in person. But thanks to this wonderful technology that we do now have, I can connect with you guys. First of all, for items for the agenda, I'd like to ask to approve the following overnight trips for elementary principals, the Elgin meeting at Pigeon Forge, January 27th to 28th, which has already happened, by the way. CTE Director, Board of Education, go to the textbook and the state winter directors meeting, February 7th through the 9th. Of course, Mr. Shoemaker did mention the Coordinated School Health Institute in Franklin, Tennessee, February 27th through March 2nd. Scott High School, the band director and East Tennessee All-State Band students to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, February 3rd through the 5th. Also, what's all we have for the overnight trips, anything that I have for the agenda? Right now, guys, we have up to date, we have used 10 sick days, snow days, I should say. Some of those you could consider sick days, but we have used 10 of our 13 allotted snow days. There has been a bill pushed by Representative Faison to add 10 COVID days onto the calendar. Now, whether that'll pass or not, I have no idea. I do know that that has been brought before the state. Like I said, it's in the early stages of it, so I honestly cannot tell you one way or the other what will come with that. Would like to congratulate all of our middle school basketball teams and those that are still playing on right now in the sectional tournaments. Had a great season and look forward to following our teams that are alive in the sectional, and would like to see them bring home some more trophies if they could. To touch base real quick on what Mr. Henry was talking about, and I would like to meet with you guys when we meet next Wednesday to go more in depth with this. As Mr. Henry approached us, we got looking and reached out to Tovine Enterprises to see if we could add more seating into the Scott High School Gymnasium. I think the current seating we have right now is 867 seats. To host the district tournament with 3A, I don't know if it's changed, but it was 1250. Currently, what you're looking at there with the schematics of that get us right to 1,200 seating. Now, I do think that with that being said, we could probably still reach out and get the district tournament with that. Cost, of course, this would be part of the TIPS project, which the project would not have to be bid if, for say, the school board was interested in doing this project. For the time, if we got everything to Total Vine Enterprises, it would take 5 months for them to build the bleachers. And then probably, was it about a month, Mr. Henry, to get installed, or 2 weeks? Do you remember?
I believe it took me 2 weeks.
2 weeks to get installed.
A week to install the units.
So if we wanted to move forward here, again, we're probably looking at a price. Now, this is also replacing the goals.
No,
all the structure that we have with the old goals now, those are right at 50 years old too. Replacing all that structure and everything with the new bleachers comes in under $300,000. Now, this would be something that we would have to use from our reserves if you guys are interested. I do know that I've not been to a game one this year. The bleachers have almost been packed where people are sitting everywhere. And I've never left the gym without somebody asking me, number one, about a new gym, of course, which would be ideal with the first circumstance. And with that being said, we can get into that later, but within the next so many years, we do seriously need to sit down because Scott High School, the next so many years, guys, we're going to need a new school. And we got to start some serious conversations with the county commission in order for that. But for the meantime, like I said, this will get us suffice to where we need. And I really commend the Total Vine Enterprises, Mr. Henry, with the legwork with this. We're coming in with the schematics that will get us, like I said, right at 1,200 seats. Going forward, I'd like you guys' thoughts. And I know you guys are probably hit with this as much as I am when you're in a community or at a ball game. So again, I would like to also sit down in more in-depth conversation with you guys when we meet at next Wednesday to discuss on the museum, if you guys are okay with that. That being said, we could place this on the agenda. But I will leave that up to you guys if you feel like that is something that we couldn't move forward with at this time. So I'll ask for your thoughts.
And you're saying this would come out of reserves?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's we possibly won't even have enough money to finish Fairview Gym. How are we going to do this?
Well, Fairview Gym number one is out of the ESSER funding. Okay. So if you get to a point in time, again, that would come to the board if you wanted to use reserves, if the ESSER funding did not take care of the funding. We're not using reserves for the Fairview Gym. Okay.
Right, I know.
That's strictly from the ESSER funding.
That's a fear. That was discussed in the online meeting the other day, that was a fear that we may have to get into reserves.
Well, it could depending on the bid. I mean, that is, we don't know what the total project will be. When we start looking at everything, we know that the prices have doubled, some almost tripled. You're looking at paying 60% in some cases more. And right now, I know that there was a project that we did scale back that we could put toward all that too. I know Miss Amanda mentioned that tonight also, which gets you more than the 3.2 million to do on the funding for time. So, I mean, with you guys, like I said, I would like strictly your input, and I know you guys are hit with this. This is probably the one time that we could, like I said, get this done, and get it right out to enough seating what we need for the Scott High School gym.
What is in our reserves, Amanda?
It was 4.9, but that was asking for last. Mr. Hall, do you have an updated amount on reserves?
Do I have an updated amount? It was right at 6.1 million. I know that you had moved for about 1.3 out for the buses. Now I will get an updated one at my finance committee meeting.
So what's so we're at 4.9?
About, yes.
We're right at it, yeah.
What's the
we did have Miss Amanda did move 1.3 over because of 7 school buses.
What's the projected next time to roll over into? Do we have a projected amount that we might be rolling over into, like each year we roll over to reserve?
June 30th.
So June 30th, what is our projection? Do we have one?
No.
Depends on what we don't spend, you know, what, as far as what's budgeted. You know, you can go back and look at years, kind of what's on an average.
Right, that's what,
this-
what's the average?
I would say right now, I'll be afraid to give you a figure. I really need to go look. I can say that the budget that come in this year was pretty close to exact. I mean, as far as there are some probably that we won't spend. I can't tell you exactly to the dollar amount what would go into the reserve right now at this time, Mr. Silcox. And won't know really until we get closer to June, honestly.
And Mr. Hall, I thought our next focus after the Fairview gym was going to be the Huntsville Elementary playroom and a couple of classrooms.
And we're also Churchville kids in trailers that we're saying floors need to be.
We are, and that's why I'm saying we had a chance to bring this up to you. We would like to have some more in-depth conversation. I think we're looking at cost. I think when you look at some of the other projects, you're talking probably in excess of $1 to $2 million on some of those. That would be some things that we really need to honestly reach out to our county commission for and ask for. This is something we can do in-house.
You think? You think?
Well, if you want to put it on the agenda, that's fine, but I'm just going to say for my part, it will be a no for me at this time. I know it's needed and nothing against Scott High or anybody out there, but I see other needs elsewhere at the present time. That's my opinion. Now, you want to put it on the agenda and go ahead with it, that's fine with you, but that's where I stand.
And let me say that, Ms. Amanda and myself, we were going to, because the 5-year plan that we did as far as on all the physical projects that we looked at, we're going to need to sit down and get with you guys and start another one and prioritize some of those. Again, some of those big projects, when you're talking into some major construction, you're talking, honestly, probably needing to go to our county commission to ask for. And that was one reason why that those projects, like I said, you're talking possibly, and I wish Mr. Hill was here, we'd probably look at, you know, in excess of $1.5 to $2 million each. So this right here, like I said, could be done within our budget. And that was one reason why we wanted to bring it up tonight. We don't have to place it on the agenda. We can discuss it more when we meet on the 9th. I just wanted to bring it before you guys tonight to start looking at it from there.
I think we need to discuss it more.
Discuss
I don't think it needs to be on the agenda next time.
What do y'all think?
I agree. I think it needs more discussion.
I agree.
Okay. We'll discuss it. We'll discuss it on the 9th.
Absolutely. And by no means were we trying to jump projects, or were we trying to not think one's more important than this, that, or the other. It was a thing that, you know, when you look at what funding you have of what we need to go to as county commission, what we can do, strictly those things. Because we try to be good stewards. I think you guys know that. We've always tried to be good stewards with our budget. This budget has grown when I've come in the office from about 2.7 to about 7.1 at one time. We were able to do a lot of projects because of you guys' support and you guys' efforts and your guys' means of allowing us to do some things. And, you know, we built bus garages. We've built a lot of things we've been able to do without having to go and ask our county to do these. And so this was just another project that we could do that in. That was why we brought it before you tonight.
Well, I think everybody will agree that it's something needed.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to deny that.
No.
It is needed. It is needed. And, you know, and I don't think we need to look at what I mean, you look at your priority list and you look at the things that need to be done. Sure. You know, but also the process with it is, what can we do now? What can be done here? And those things. I think it's things we need to sit down and look and go from there. And like I said, we will get started on a 5-year plan with that to look what needs to be done. And I think in that 5-year plan, I think that you want to talk about priorities, a high school, new high school. But again, you're talking probably excess of $30 million. So. I'll just smile and leave it at that. And guys, that's all I have unless y'all have any questions for me. Oh, let me say this much. About to forget. Condolences go out to tragic loss in our school system. Oh, Miss Duncan. And Miss Rector mentioned she had been with us a short period of time, but it already made a tremendous impact on our students and our school. I saw her at the last home ball game we had and talked to her, and she was all smiles and was loving what she was doing. I think as she was getting more familiar with the role, she was starting to reach more and more kids. And, even though they wear the badge and that they're in our schools, they become part of the school. As Officer Sexton can tell you, they have to be that trustworthy person that's in there. And she was earning that. And she was learning to adapt to that. Tragic loss. Please remember her and her family in your prayers. And any other one that has lost loved ones. And also, we got a text a while ago. Please keep Marvin Hewitt in your prayers. Yes. I do know he's been hospitalized with COVID. Mr. Hewitt made a tremendous impact on a lot of people. Me being one, and I think a lot of people sitting up there tonight can also say the same thing. Whether you knew him as a colleague or had him as a teacher or both. I always used to tell Mr. Hewitt I was very fortunate enough. I had him as a student. I worked with him as a colleague, and I worked with him as a boss in 2 roles, as a principal and as a director. And he treated me always with the utmost respect as I did him. And pray for his recovery and well-being at this time. And guys, that's all I have unless y'all have questions for me.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything? Mr. Silcox.
As everybody says, do remember Tommy Duncan, husband of April, and their families. Do remember our department. It's when you got one inside, it takes a toll on several. So do remember our community officers and everybody that's come in contact. But most of all, remember that family.
Ms. Carlene. I would just like to echo that. My condolences to Ms. Duncan's entire family and Mr. Hewitt. I had Mr. Hewitt in school, and I always enjoyed going into his class and just pray that he gets better real fast. Yes, ma'am. I will be praying for Mr. Hewitt, and I certainly understand what the family's going through in the Duncan family. Ms. Ken.
So just praying for all these families in need and troubles and trials and sickness and sorrows.
Condolences.
Yes, for sure. Well, with Mr. Hewitt, I never had him in school, but I did haul a lot of chicken crap over his barn. And with that, we'll go home.
That's a good ending, Esther.
Thank you, guys.